Hi, I'm Ellen Gormley and welcome back to my channel. Today I have for you 4 different types of crocheted cables, cords, ties, whatever you want to call them, ways to make your crochet perfect for a handle or a tie on a hoodie or a tie on a purse or a drawstring on a bag. So here's 4 different styles. So let's get started. So this first one is the simplest. So love it, love it. This is all the different sides. This is the one I use probably the most often because it is just so easy and quick. So we will start with a chain of whatever plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You can make this as long as you want. You can do a multiple based on the number of stitches per inch that you need a tie. So after the chains in the second one from the loop, you're just going to slip stitch down each stitch. Now I do this a lot for fringe, and I do this a lot for the narrowest of drawstrings or ties on bags or purses. And this would also be really good for the tie on a hoodie. So you're just slip stitching in the back ridge, back bump, back bar, whatever you want to call it, of each chain across, and it makes this little almost flat cord. Very, very easy. The multiples doesn't matter, and you can make it as long as you want, but you might have to do the math. Like if this is too short, then you got to rip back and add more chains before you go back. So this is the chain and then slip stitch tie. This is tie number 1. Love it. Okay, tie number 2. So that's this one. This one is a curly tie, and I like this one a lot if you're going to actually tie things that you want to stay tied. Also, if you need something decorative that it's curly, then this is the one for you. So to make this curly tie, you take, again, the same number of chains. Now all 4 of them are not this way, so the next 2 are radically different. So keep watching for the next two radically different ones. But this one, you're going to also start with a chain of whatever, however long you want the piece. And you know my favorite edging is to slip stitch chain 1. And guess what? If you slip stitch and chain 1 along each chain across, it makes the curly tie. It has a little bit of texture to it, and that is what makes it a secure or more secure tie than the first slippery one. So I really love the curly nature of this one, and because of the slip stitches and then the chain 1, it gives it a little bit of texture, and so it's slightly more decorative than the others. There are a gazillion ways to make ties, and if you want even more, let me know down below, and I will show you even more ties. This one gets really nice and curly, and because there's double the number of stitches because you slip stitched and chain 1, and that's why it curls up so prettily like a little shrimpy. Hello! Very cute and decorative little tie. Okay, the next one is radically different. So remember, crochet is a relaxing and valuable use of our time. And I think the right finishing is what really makes a project complete. So we're just going to weave in the tail here. I don't know why I can't just let it go, but I want to finish it. So there's my little curly tie. And the longer you do, the longer it's going to be like the little firecracker when we were a kid that turns into little black smoky snakes. I don't remember why I remember that. Anyway, that's what it looks like. Okay, this next one is radically different. Can you tell what this one is? This one does not start with a beginning chain of a whole bunch of whatever. Instead, we are starting with a chain of 3 or 4, depending on what you want, because this is actually a tube. This is a tube. So as the diameter you want for your tube is the number of stitches that you want. So I think this one was 3. So I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3 and slip stitch in the 3rd chain from the hook to form a ring. And we will immediately begin building the tube by just going 1, 2, 3 single crochets in the ring. Now I'm going to pop it a little bit, skip the beginning slip stitch that joined it, and start going in rounds. You can place in a spiral. You can place a stitch marker in the first chain if you want, but once you get the rhythm of it, you don't even need a stitch marker. We're just single crocheting in every stitch. So imagine a hat where you make a flat circle and then you work evenly, and so that it starts to cup up. And this is what we're doing here. I made a flat circle that was just 3 single crochets, and now I am just 3 single crocheting over and over and over again. And this little tail is getting in the way, but it's okay. So this is what the little piece looks like from my vantage point, looking down. So I'm going to just single crochet in each single crochet around in a spiral. So grabbing 2 loops, taking care not to do more than 1 stitch per stitch. And I think this tail is probably confusing you, so I'm sorry about the tail there. Let me just push it out of the way. But that's how I would do it, so that I didn't have a tail coming out the bottom. So if you can see, I'm just looking at it like a tiny beaker, a tiny narrow beaker, or a tiny itty bitty little vase. And I'm just working around the lip of the vase, the bud vase, single crocheting 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. And if I had wanted, I could have pulled that little tail and kept it dangling at the bottom. But this way it buries it on the inside so that you don't have anything dangling and you don't have to weave in the end. But you just go on ad nauseum forever. You just single crochet in each single crochet until you have the length of cord or tie that you want. Now this one is more tubular, more cylindrical, and so it is squishier and not as thin as the other 2 that I just showed you. So the thinnest one is this one, the first one with the slip stitches. Then the next one is a curly one with the slip stitch chain 1. And this one is the tubular one. So this is the tubular crochet cord, tie, cable, rope, whatever you want to call it. But you can just finish it off like you finish off any other crochet whenever you are done and you have the length that you want. And then you can use a tapestry needle to thread it back down the middle if you want, and you have this little tube. And you can make it, you know, the strap on a purse or whatever. So that is the tubular cord or cable or tie or whatever you want to call it. Now this last one is a lot of fun. This is a little I-cord crochet tube. It is probably the softest. It is also a tube. It is squishier and softer than this one. It looks knitted, but it's a little bit tricky. So let's show you this one. So this one we will start with, instead of a chain of whatever, and the advantage to this one and this one are that you just keep going until you get the right length. With these 2, you have to figure out the length first, because once you chain that number of stitches and come back, that's the length you have. You can't really add more. On these 2, you can keep going and going and going until you have come to the right length. So there's much less redo factor. So this one we are chaining 3, and it's like Tunisian crochet in that I will pull up a loop in each of the next 2 stitches. Okay. Now, this is where it gets different. We are going to securely pinch the first 2 loops with our tension hand, remove them from the hook, yarn over and pull through the one on the hook, insert your hook into the next one and pull up a loop, insert your hook into the next one and pull up a loop. And you have just done a little Tunisian crochet, and we will do this step over and over again. So now I'm going to release my thumb and finger and pinch these 2 again. So I'm always going to pinch the 2 that are on the side of my tension hand. I'm going to release them, be careful not to let them go, and yarn over and pull through the first one, reinsert the hook and yarn over and pull up the next one, reinsert the hook in the last one, yarn over and pull up a loop. Now you will get into a bit of trouble if you accidentally let one of these go and they unravel on you. So it really is important that you keep them a good grip on them. So remove them from the loop. Make sure when you're pulling through the yarn through the first one, that is when the last one wants to pull out. Yarn over and pull up a loop, and then reinsert, yarn over and pull up a loop. So it's like teeny weeny little Tunisian crochet, but you have to be careful not to lose those loops in the process. So we are making a tiny Tunisian knitted I-cord, basically. So it actually is flat, but it curls in on itself, so it feels like a tube, but it's what wraps around like, can't think, like a cannoli, I guess, like it goes around. So we will just continue to do this process over and over again until, again, we have the length that we want. That is one of the awesome advantages of this particular one. And it's also very pretty, and it's also very soft. All of features which I like very much. So if necessary, you can go through the trouble of placing a marker in those loops so that they don't pull out. It's kind of like a mini lifeline, but you don't have to. Once you get the rhythm of it, you'll be fine. But remember, don't yarn over and pull back. You're instead pulling out with the hook and yarning over and pulling through each of them. Okay? And then to fasten off, we can just yarn over and pull through all three and pull up a loop and cut and put the tail through the loop where the hook had been. Yay! So, so pretty. I hope you've enjoyed this little lesson on cables, ropes, ties, and crochet. Please check out the motifs video and the free patterns that have come up more and more, where the pattern is in the description below the video. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time.